So today I'm going to be unboxing and installing the Lumina Zoom Series dashcam. Now I will be doing a full review of this dashcam in a separate review video, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to stay tuned for the full review. However, in today's video, we're just going to be unboxing it, setting it up, and then I'll show you how to install it on your vehicle. And the first step to doing this is to peel open this plastic cover. I'm going to use a knife to peel it open gently and then pull that cover off completely. Okay, and now let's open the box up. And inside the box, the first thing you'll find is the camera itself. I'm going to set this aside for now. And then there's a shelf on the inside. Let's pull that out. And let's see what else is inside the box. Now this is probably the most important accessory in the box, and that is the installation or user manual. And that's very important. It's at the bottom of the box, but I recommend reading it before you get started. So that's the first thing you'll get. And next you'll find the car power adapter, which powers the camera. It plugs into your cigarette lighter. I'll show you how to do that in a minute when we install it on the vehicle. And last but not least, you get 2 extra adhesive pads. Now this is very important in case you switch cars or want to switch your camera to another car that you own, or end up buying another car and just need to move your camera. So these are very important. You get 2 adhesive pads. You also get some wire clips to neaten up your wiring. So these are all the things that you get when you buy the camera itself. So now let's take a closer look at the camera and start setting it up. Now just a quick note before we start installing the camera on your vehicle. It's very important that you check the local laws regarding dashcams before you go ahead and install a dashcam. So for example, if you're in the United States, make sure to check the laws in your specific state regarding dashcams. You want to check what the specific laws are and what the specific limitations are in terms of installing a dashcam before you go ahead and just slap it on your car. And also if you're outside the United States, absolutely make sure to check the laws in terms of what your country allows in terms of dashcams. And it's absolutely important to make sure you're in compliance with these laws, just to ensure that you don't get into any trouble in the future, just to ensure that the footage you get from these cameras is admissible in a court of law in case you happen to use it for some legal purpose. So make sure you're in compliance with those laws, check those laws, read them in detail, get some advice from your attorney in case you have one before you go ahead and put this dashcam in. So let's go ahead, set the camera up and get it installed. Now there's very little setup that you can do on this camera indoors. Most of the setup and installation is done in your vehicle. But there are a few things you can do before you take it out. For example, you can remove, or rather peel off, this little lens cover here, and also peel off this little screen cover here. Now you need to insert a micro SD card into the camera. Now a micro SD card isn't provided for you with this kit, so you'll have to provide one yourself. I'm using a SanDisk Ultra 32GB micro SD card. Now it's very important to remember that because this camera is a 1080p camera, you want to use a micro SD card with at least a class 10 rating. And I'll leave a link to one that'll work in the description below, so feel free to check that out in case you need a micro SD card. Be sure to use one that can handle full HD video capture. Otherwise, you'll just have the camera hang and not record or stop recording in between. So make sure to use a branded SD card which is rated to handle 1080p video. Now the camera itself does not have a built-in battery, so the only way to power it is using your car's cigarette lighter adapter, which is the 12-volt adapter that they provide with the kit. And before you take the camera out to your car, it's probably a good idea to plug the USB end into your camera. So that way, all you have to do is plug this into your cigarette lighter. Oh, and on a related note, they've very thoughtfully designed a USB port into this adapter. So you don't really lose the ability to plug in something like your phone charger into your car's cigarette lighter port. So I'm going to plug the USB cable into the USB port. There you go, it's plugged in. And now we're ready to install it on the vehicle. So let's go outside and plug it into the car. Now the recommended spot to install your Lumina dashcam is on a clear spot of windshield right beneath the mount for your rear view mirror. So before you do anything, pick a spot on your windshield where you'll mount the camera. Now you want to make sure that the spot that you select is free of any dirt or any grease or grime whatsoever. So I'd recommend using something like a wet wipe. An alcohol swab if you have one of those. If you don't, you can actually use something like window cleaner like Windex and a paper towel. Once you've made sure that the mounting spot on your windshield is clean, it's time to plug in the camera to your 12-volt supply, which is your cigarette lighter port. And when you plug it in, make sure that the USB port on the power adapter is still accessible for something like a car cell phone charger. And now if you turn your ignition key to the on position, your dash cam should power up and start recording, and this will tell you that your dash cam is actually working. And now it's time to do a dry fit for the camera. So what I'm going to do is, without the adhesive backing peeled off, I'm going to try and position the camera to approximately where it'll be positioned eventually, and this will tell me very quickly if there are any obstructions or issues with mounting it in that specific position. And now peel off the backing on the adhesive tape on the camera, and then place and press down firmly the camera on the spot that we just picked earlier, and give it a little bit of moderate pressure for a few minutes till the adhesive sticks. And it's important to note that the USB cable plugs in on top, and this makes sure that the camera is mounted the right way up. Now there are a few things that we need to set up in the menus before we start recording. So press the menu button on the top right hand corner, and then select the resolution option using the button on the bottom left hand corner, and make sure you've selected 1080p. This is the resolution that I recommend. It's the best resolution you can get from this camera, and it'll give you the clearest video. Once you're done with that, make sure you toggle down to the loop recording option in the menu. Now I at least recommend that it's not in the off position. Now the loop recording mode ensures that you'll at least have the last few minutes of your recording even if your SD card runs out of space. So it continuously keeps recording and re-records over your initial recording to ensure that you have at least the last few minutes of your recording, which is really essential for a dash cam. Now the clip size you select is entirely up to you, and in my case I'm just going to select 3 minutes. Now back in the menu, toggle down to the record audio option and make sure that it is turned on. Now this is really important for situations like traffic stops where the audio might be of great value, so I definitely recommend leaving the audio on. And another very important thing to set up is the date and time, because you want a correct date and time stamp on your footage. So toggle into the date and time option in the menu and adjust your date and time. And one last thing to do before you start recording is to format the SD card. Now this ensures that the SD card works correctly with your camera and doesn't hang or freeze up at any point. Now one thing to note though is, once you format this SD card, you will lose all memory on the card, so make sure you don't have anything you want to lose on the card before you format it. Now there are several other settings that you can adjust on this camera. However, these basic settings that we've covered today should actually get you started and recording without any issues. And one last physical adjustment that we need to make is to turn the lens angle knob to make sure you get the right field of view, or rather the field of view that you want to capture. And last but not least, you can use the provided wire routing clips to clean up your wiring a bit. And when you're ready to start driving and recording, turn your ignition key to the on or start position, and the camera automatically turns on and starts recording. And when you're done with your trip, simply turn off your car and the camera automatically turns off and stops recording. If you do have the delayed shutdown option selected, it will take a few extra seconds to record and shut down. And that brings us to the end of the setup of the Lumina dashcam. If you're looking to buy one of these, I'll leave a link in the description below, so feel free to check that out. And as I stated earlier, I will be doing a full review of this dashcam, so if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to stay tuned for that full review. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.